stop bringing back Michael Myers. I don't even really like the reboot of Halloween. I'm like, can no one think of any new horror movies, or do we just keep on bringing these old motherfuckers back?
I'd make a commentary, but then again, it's already
I,
related
I
in video
think people
games.
are. I think people are just. I think people are just afraid. They're. It's not that they're incapable of coming up with new ideas. It's just that these were pretty reliable franchises that they can still keep making money off of.
Yeah, but I mean, they could
That's
do
all.
spin-offs of movies that make like they're doing the big budget Jurassic Park movies, right? Like the big PG-13 Jurassic Park movies. Well, they could do a spin-off of Jurassic Park that just focuses on like the horrifying aspect of these raptors and dinosaurs, these mutant genetic abominations killing people, and make it R. It's like, oh, so this is Jurassic Park for the people who are like because if you watch that first movie, there's parts of that first movie that are horrifying. Like that lawyer running to the bathroom and thinking he's safe, and that T-Rex eats his ass anyway. Or Dennis Nedry, like getting ate in that Jeep, and you seeing the eggs and the hormone treated eggs dropping into the water supply. You know, it's like, oh boy, you fucked up, Nedry. You fucked up. Like there's really horrific aspects, and like the reason I should say make it R so that you can actually show, like people getting eviscerated by a raptor and then having their
blood,
entrails
all that
eaten.
stuff.
Well, because I mean, the opening of the first Jurassic Park, you have Grant like getting this kid to shut the fuck up because he's like, "Hey, do you know how raptors ate their prey?" The kid's like, "Yeah, it doesn't seem that scary to me." Well, you see, a raptor would take this claw and it would rip your stomach open, and then it would start eating your entrails while you were still alive. And then we see that happen to Muldoon later on in the film. They don't show the whole thing, but he's like, "Clever girl." It's like, man, if you would live and listen to Grant, you wouldn't do this because he tells you how they set up their ambushes. There's one in the front that gets your attention, and then one comes from the sides. And they built Muldoon to be this badass, and I'm like, yeah, well, you got 8, son.
Well, he's in that. I was about to say, well, his is bad, so bad that it got eaten.
Yep. Muldoon in the books is like this big game hunter. Like that was his thing. So fuck him anyway. I don't like big game hunters. Anyway, we're live with another episode of BS Busters on the 14th. Thank you for joining us. Let's have everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right into it. Starting with the lady first, then the two gentlemen, and then myself.
No.
Go ahead, ladies first.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all ages of BS Busters Daily Podcast. I'm Jerry Moonstar, and if you made it past Friday the 13th, consider yourself lucky.
All right, Kenoshi.
It's Kenoshi Abominito. Glad to be here.
All right, Kirby Lover.
Hello, it's Kirby Lover, and I want to say I'm happy to be here. The topic seemed interesting.
All right, glad to have you. And of course, it's me, the owner and proprietor of BS Busters. Thank you for joining us for another cast. If you enjoy this cast, rate, comment, share, subscribe. There are mountains of podcasts available on the channel, plus other simple soliloquy videos where I just simply do a brief video about a certain topic, plus movie reviews, video game reviews, etc., etc. Anyway, that being said, let's dive into these topics. So the topics we have for the night are, there's rumors that Sony and Nintendo are giving serious thought to their next-gen consoles. We're going to talk about DRM on digital on these consoles. We're going to talk about games. Some big delays have come out this week for certain games. We shall also cover missed opportunity movie tie-in games. So, for example, why was there no video game released to coincide with the Batman or the Multiverse of Madness, stuff like that? And I know that a lot of times video game based movie-based video games weren't that good, but you had some really amazing
Licensed games.
standouts. Yeah, you had some some really good standouts to that, like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I mean, I know a lot of people are like, man, I love Insomniac Spider-Man. Oh, you mean the game that's basically just like a next-gen version of the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Like, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a really great game. And, why aren't we getting really good movie tie-ins? Because, like, now we have the technology and the budget to do at least halfway decent movie-based tie-ins. So why aren't these companies doing it? So with that being said, let's get to the first topic. There's been rumblings, if you will, that Sony and Nintendo have been giving serious thought to next-gen consoles already. And
you're kidding me.
So, who wants to dive into this first and give their opinion on it, and then we'll keep it moving.
Well, it's no surprise they're always working on their next gen stuff, and as soon as the new stuff comes out,
Well,
they're already
I'm not talking about the normal standard operating procedure. I mean, like, there's rumblings, okay, that they're giving serious thought to their next gen hardware.
Oh, so well, I mean, for the Switch, it's about that time for them to switch over to new hardware. It's 5 years old. Usually, Nintendo works on a 5 to 6 year life cycle. The Wii U was, an exception. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Sony, I don't know why their console's not even quite 3 years
Their
old.
consoles
Yet.
barely has been. I was about to say,
Yeah.
and their consoles are already on a short leash.
Yeah, they can barely get PS5s out. So if they're worried about, like, with the chip shortage being what it is for both Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft, like the chip shortage being what it is, even if Sony and Nintendo and even Microsoft want to develop a new console, they're not going to really have the components to get it out anytime soon.
Ooh.
Just on GP. And, in the case of Sony and Microsoft, I mean, like, they still have at least a good 2, maybe 3 years of maximizing the hardware a little bit. The Switch, I think Nintendo's caught between kind of a rock and a hard place in terms of, because the thing is, even if Nintendo wanted to release a new console right now, with the chip shortage being what it is, and even if everything works,
I was about to say that is what I was groaning about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if they wanted to come out with a new console right now, because of the architecture of the Switch, like, it's using more of like something that's more akin to an APU, so an all-in-one CPU GPU combo, than versus like a dedicated CPU, dedicated GPU. Like, even if they wanted to use like newer tech, it's not gonna the Switch aged worse than, say, a dedicated console. So basically, even if they wanted to come out with new hardware right now, or even in the next the 18 months, 2 years, with the chip shortage being what it is, I don't think they could pull it off. But on the other end of the spectrum, like I said, like, the Switch hardware, like, a lot of those games are kind of, they're using the normal type of programming tricks that Nintendo would use, but because of the nature of the Switch's architecture, like, you can see the wizard behind, you can see the man behind the curtain, in the hallway for a lot of those games. Like you play Kirby, and if you're on a level, because I have Kirby, if you're on a level where there's a lot of stuff going on, where Kirby is, you can see the characters being rendered properly. But if you look in the distance, it looks like they're stop motion animation, but really shitty stop motion animation. So it's like, oh, come on, man.
Well, just don't look at it.
you kind of have to. I mean, you kind of have to, like, let me put it this way. If I normally I wouldn't say anything, but like the more you play games, like the more you begin to notice how certain games are made and the quality and stuff. It's like the more you read books, the more you start to judge the quality of how people construct their books and like the writing quality and stuff like that. So it's like, oh man, that's kind of, I'm enjoying this game, but that's kind of disturbing to see that in the distance. And certain second party games just did not run very well on the Switch. Still don't run very well on the Switch. And don't get me started on certain first party games just running like ass, as the AVGN says. But you know, but like I said, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because at this point, I think they've pretty much optimized as much as they can do with the Switch. And the only thing that they could probably do is like a hardware revision, like the new 3DS. But at this point, they would have to still get chips even to do a hardware revision. And there's a chip shortage, so they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
But when do you think the chip shortage will end?
Well,
2024.
Yeah, people are saying 2023, but even if it's resolved in 2023, that doesn't mean that stuff that has already been promised has to be fulfilled. So you're not going to see the pipeline stabilize itself until 2024.
Yeah.
And by that point, it's going to be a moot point anyway, because I just think it's, I think it's going to be a moot point by that point. But I mean, the Switch has done is like one of Nintendo's highest selling. It's Nintendo's highest selling. I mean, depending on how you look at it, it's their highest selling home console or their second highest selling handheld. I'm going with their second highest selling handheld.
Yeah.
But I kind of have to. I kind of have to put an asterisk next to that because I'm pretty sure you probably have to knock maybe 10 million off that number because I guarantee that some of those Switch numbers are people who like have kids and they bought Switch Lites for their family.
Okay, well that may be true.
Maybe.
But at least Xboxes are getting easier to find despite the chip shortages.
Well, I mean the Switch Lite
got priority.
Yeah, because the Switch Lite needs less hardware. Like they don't have to put in the HD Rumble. They don't have to have the components for the Joy-Cons because it's built all in there. There's certain stuff that doesn't need to be in there because it's not in there. It's like the 2DS is easier to make than a 3DS. So, or like Microsoft had with the Series S, where the Series S was easier for them to make than a Series X. So, me personally, I was like, I don't really care about a Switch Lite because I actually use my Switch like a home console. So, like not having the ability to put it into a dock and all that type of stuff, that kind of I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't care about that functionality. Like the portableness of the Switch is not a feature that I really care about. So, whatever. Anyway, so any other thoughts about the next gen consoles? Like people, because there's a rumbling that Sony's already working on their next PS. They're giving serious thought. I'm like, now this one I kind of took with a handful of salt because I'm like, they can barely get the PS5 out. What the hell makes you think that they could get a PS6 out right now? Like in the next 2 years?
I don't think. Yeah, hey, that is.
I was about to say, if they pull that off, they have to be insane.
Yeah,
because look at what's happening to their system at number 5 right now.
Yeah, like Nintendo, it makes sense. Like, because Nintendo, it's like, okay, some of our first party games are struggling, and some of the second party exclusives kind of don't run all that well. I can understand them saying, okay, we need to start giving serious thought to our next gen offerings. But Sony, They barely have gotten the PS5 out, so that doesn't make any sense. It's only, what, 2.5 years, almost 3 years at this point?
Yeah, and we can only imagine how that's going.
Yeah. And I mean, and part of that is, of course, the chip shortage. The supply pipeline being what it is, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't see that happening, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Right. I'm sure chip shortage will be over by next year because like they already have jobs ready.
Well, it's not a case of the jobs. Like in this case, it's not because there aren't enough people working on it. It's that
Really?
no, it's about the supply chain. It's
Oh.
just all about getting the stuff that to make the chips to the factories, and then it's like there's not enough assembly lines to fulfill all the demand. It's not that there aren't enough people working at the factories to do the stuff that they have, and there's a backlog. So like the people who are like the people who've already placed like done orders on like their fabs, like Microsoft paid premium dollars above the normal amount in order to get priority on assembly lines. So even once the supply shortage is dealt with, Microsoft is going to get priority for a lot of stuff. Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have God money, like Microsoft does. We got God money. Yeah. For once, they actually use their money like you should in business and not just for some extraneous bullshit. So, congrats to them, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so any other thoughts before we move on to the next topic? Nothing? Okay, then. Our next topic. DRM. So since it seems it's very fortuitous that I ended the last topic with Microsoft because something happened this week that pissed a lot of people off. Microsoft's Xbox Live went down for a little bit, and people were unable to utilize their Game Pass games. But not only were they unable to utilize their Game Pass games, they were unable to use games that they had downloaded to their consoles that were on the hard drive.
Oh man, so did they secretly put DRM in there?
No, it was always there.
Oh, it's just
no.
it wasn't as bad as what people thought when the beginning.
It basically everything that people were mad about during the Xbox One is there now. It's just
Wow.
It's just the benefits are heavier than the negatives. Because if the Xbox One had something like Game Pass that we have now, no one would have said. People would have been like, "Oh, that's worth it." But because it was some pulled out of their ass bullshit back then and wasn't well explained, people got mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like before people say, I know some people say like people who don't know are gonna be like, well, at least Sony does it. Sony's doing the same shit, and so is Nintendo to a lesser degree. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone saying, I don't care what you own, there's some form of DRM on all of these gaming devices. All right. Now, it's not as bad on Nintendo consoles, but if you have the Nintendo Online like gaming library for the $20 version and the $50 version, and you don't connect to the internet after you downloaded that software emulation suite of games and the onboard emulator, if that doesn't check in with the Nintendo network after X amount of time, I think it's 2 weeks, you can't use that software suite. So that's DRM.
I think I noticed. Dang.
Yeah. So I don't want anyone saying
it was DRM.
I don't want anyone get. No, go ahead, Kirby.
What does DRM stand for?
Digital Rights Management. Yeah. I don't want anyone getting their ass up on their shoulders about, well, that doesn't happen on my console. They're all doing it. There's no one is safe. Okay, the shit has hit the fan and it's splattering everyone. Hello, Hello, Multimaster. How's it going?
What's up? I'm Kirby Lover's friend.
All right, cool.
Not sure.
We're talking about DRM.
Yes, we're talking about digital rights management. The kerfuffle that happened earlier this week where Microsoft's Xbox Live was having connection issues and people weren't able to play their games. But not only Game Pass games, which I can kind of understand there being DRM for Game Pass because you're paying $15 a month or $20 if you get it with the EA thing attached to it and getting access to hundreds of games. I can understand that having a DRM issue. But for games that you download to your hard, like you buy a digital version of a game and you download it, you're unable to play your game. They were unable to play their game while they were having connection issues, and that's a problem. But apparently, look, the DRM and the online DRM is here and alive, baby. It's here and alive. What everyone got warned about, people were like, "I'm not taking this with Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking this," and but they did. People took it. People bent over and spread their cheeks and took it. For $15 a month and the benefits, they were like, "I'll take it." For $20 a year and access to old games that an old game library that it was better in past gens, they took it. For Sony, they took it. So we walked into the mousetrap with our eyes wide open.
Well, we tend to do that.
Yep. It's like, yeah, I want to play these old games. Yeah, I want this software suite, this software library of games. Yeah. And we took it. And that's all I can say. So, anyone's thoughts about the DRM debacle, as I'm calling it?
DRM's been around for a long time. Like I said on my show, it's thing is, I remember people freaking out during the whole Xbox One debacle. I was like, yeah, this is here. This has been here for a while. Sony, Microsoft, both of them have been doing it for the longest time. And it's just, I just found it really funny. It's like, oh, now you guys are complaining about it. Now this is a problem for you guys. Because I remember when I was in high school, there was a friend of mine who had to go to her boyfriend's house to play Castle Crashers because she lived in an area where all you could get was dial-up, and because she didn't have an internet connection, she couldn't play Castle Crashers. And there were several games on the Xbox store that were like that. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is, like I said, this is something that's been going on for a long time. Like, there were certain games, even on Steam, and I know people are like, I love Steam. There are certain games that you couldn't play if you weren't connected to, like, if your Steam library was down for a certain period of time. You'd have to go into offline mode. And some games, I mean, obviously, if there were games that were online dependent, you couldn't play them, like Counter-Strike or Team Fortress or something like that. But there are other games that may have been single player, and because of the DRM, can't play it.
Oh yeah, question. Is online only games count as DRM?
Yes, it's inherent.
Okay, now I'm starting to understand what it is.
There's inherent digital rights management on an online only game because the only way you can play it is by being connected to their network. So, like, if you want to play Splatoon's multiplayer, you have to be on. You need an online connection. And how do you use Nintendo's online connection? You have to have their online membership. So that's DRM.
I see.
Yeah. One of the major reasons that I just stopped playing Splatoon 2 was because of the DRM. I was like, no. I like Splatoon, but not enough to pay that. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, anyone have any other thoughts about online DRM on these on these companies. It's not just console manufacturers with online DRM. We've got third parties with DRM like EA, Activision, Ubisoft, 2K. Like you can't enjoy
Yeah, I mean,
you can't enjoy a 2K game, whether it be wrestling, basketball.
Yeah, I like NBA 2K.
Yeah,
and they got all their anti-cheat software, which is annoying too. That it's completely destroys the performance of your game.
yeah. I
Which
think
is
it's a form of
counter-effective,
Denuvo or their own internal anti-cheat software. But I just said
Yeah.
forget it. So whenever I play, like sometimes I'll get like WWE 2K or like one of the 2Ks for cheap off of Humble Bundle or something, or Bundle Stars. It's now called it's Fanatical, but it used to be called Bundle Stars. I'll just say, yeah, I'm gonna cheat and give myself all the credit so that I can buy all the DLC in store with the in store currency for cheap, and I don't care because
Yep.
like I'm not gonna spend real money for fake stuff. I'm sorry.
Or in Borderlands, give give yourself an infinite amount of the golden keys.
I have done
Give
that.
yourself
I've done that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy all this with my free money.
Yeah.
I'm not spending real money. Actually, I like playing single player Borderlands with cheats. Like I've got infinite health. I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty. Yeah, I'm a cheat bastard. Malta, I know you're new here. So, how do you feel about the digital rights management situation?
To me,
Yes.
I don't really care.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how you feel. That's how you feel. All right, then. So, let's keep it moving to the next topic, which is delayed games. We had a lot of delay. Well, we had a couple of big delays happen this week. I'm gonna throw in some indie games because Nintendo had their Indie World Direct presentation, and the games I cared the most about aren't coming out till next year. So I'm gonna throw that into the delay thing too.
Yeah.
And then Bethesda delayed two games. Two games that the more I heard about Starfield, the less I cared about it, and Redfall, which I didn't care about anyway. So. Starfield, which some people are thinking that's going to be the second coming of Jesus. I disagree with that assertion.
I think people need to relax with that one.
It's
I mean,
Bethesda.
look what happened to Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Just be careful.
yeah,
Careful
but
with that.
with Cyberpunk, there's a good game in there, but it's buried under layers of BS and bad game design. Whereas with Bethesda, I mean, like Todd Howard already told us, it's Skyrim in space. I'm like, well, this game's gonna be terrible if it's Skyrim in space, because Skyrim kind of sucks. Like the base vanilla Skyrim sucks. In order to really enjoy Skyrim, you have to play it with mods.
I think Skyrim is cool.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
If that's how you feel. But to me, the base Skyrim sucks. It's like Skyrim is the type of game you play once for me, and it's like, okay, that was underwhelming. Let me get it on PC so I can add all types of cool stuff to it to make this into a more engaging game.
Right.
Because how many times can I wait? Can I begin the game on a cart to Helgen and listen to some asshole racist Stormcloak tell me about how great Ulfric Stormcloak is? See some poor bastard run away, some horse thief run away because he doesn't want to be executed. Hear about how great Ulfric Stormcloak is. With the first thing this punk ass bitch dude does in Skyrim is run away from his execution. Whereas General Tullius, who everyone's like, he's a bitch. The first thing Tullius does when a dragon approaches is try to get the people in Helgen to safety and get the battle mages and his soldiers to fight the dragon, even though he doesn't know what it is. I mean, it's like, the Stormcloaks kind of suck. But, it's just one of those things. But, But yeah, so like, like you can only play vanilla Skyrim so many times. You can only run like escape from Helgen, run up to Riverwood, go through Riverwood to go to Whiterun. Like you can only do vanilla Skyrim so many times before it's like, I need a break. Plus, it's like the main story isn't very well written, in my opinion.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just.
would you say it's a lot like the problems you had with Zelda Breath of the Wild?
Pardon?
Would you say it's a lot like Breath of the Wild, or is
What,
it
Skyrim? I mean,
yeah,
I would.
people keep saying it's like
I would.
similar.
I would say that Skyrim, Breath of the Wild story is practically non-existent. Like you get little snippets here and there as you go around the map.
Yeah.
I would say that you get a lot of environmental storytelling in Breath of the Wild, but not like this is like
Not direct storytelling.
yeah. Here's the thing. I think that the storytelling in Breath of the Wild is the weakest I've seen in a Legend of Zelda game, but I give a lot of passes to it because they tried something new. It didn't work for me, but they did try something new, so I'll give them credit for that. I think that on the other hand, Skyrim storytelling is, to me, just like kind of like simplistic for an RPG.
What to you, dude, is like the best stories in Zelda? Wind Waker?
No. I think for me, okay, I'll keep it 100%. I think the first Legend of Zelda story is trash because you don't know what the hell's going on.
The Nintendo, the NES?
The very first Legend of Zelda has a trash story. Legend of Zelda 2's story isn't that good either, but that's due to bad translation. I think you don't get a good story in Legend of Zelda until Link to the Past because it's pretty well translated and it's localized relatively well. I think that Ocarina of Time's story is very safe, but it's also really easy to get into. I think that Majora's Mask had kind of a wishy-washy story, but that's because Majora's Mask is like a series.
That game sucks.
It's some Groundhog Day shit going on in Majora's Mask, and if you really want to get the full story in a more traditional type of in a traditional thing, you'd have to basically beat that game in the 3-day time period, beat all 3 dungeons, do all the Skulltula houses.
So fucking dumb, bro. I don't understand why like the 3-day time limit, dude.
Because they were essentially basically Eiji Aonuma was given a year and the resource set from Ocarina of Time to make Majora's Mask. I would say on a technical level, Majora's Mask plays better on a technical level than Ocarina of Time. Like young Link moves faster. Young Link actually feels useful and actually feels like he can fight in Majora's Mask. Versus in Ocarina of Time, playing as young Link basically sucks. But in order for you to really get the full experience in Ocarina of Time, play it like a quote unquote traditional Legend of Zelda, you would have to play the Song of Time to slow down time to give you the 2 times time period, so you get 6 days instead of 3. Then you'd have to complete all the dungeons, all the Skulltula mansions.
Hey, what are we talking about though?
Pardon?
What are we talking about though?
It's in Majora's Mask.
No, because we got totally sidetracked.
Oh yeah, Skyrim.
Ask you a question.
Yeah, well, you asked which ones do I think have the better story. I said Majora's Mask. Ocarina of Time has a traditional story. Majora's Mask actually has a really interesting story, but once again, like Breath of the Wild, in order to get the full story of Majora's Mask, you essentially have to do all of these various extra steps to get the story. But if you do that, if you're willing to go through that type of gauntlet, it actually has a slightly better story, in my opinion, than because Majora's Mask is really dark. It tells a really dark, almost bleak story, and you don't get a reprieve from that dark, bleak story until like the very end of the game. But then you have Wind Waker, which I mean, Wind Waker's story gets good towards the second half. The first half is just tedious, in my opinion.
Damn, really?
Yeah, it's to me, it's just kind of tedious. It's like, okay, we're traveling the sea. Yeah, sea travel in that game. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but it didn't work
I
out.
love it. I love it.
I personally I like Twilight Princess because Twilight Princess
Yeah, that
feels
was
like
great.
Twilight Princess feels like they took the story of Ocarina of Time, like the gameplay and story of Ocarina of Time, and then said we can do better. Like Twilight Princess is a better version of Ocarina of Time.
Oh, definitely, dude.
And then
Definitely. That game is just better.
and then you go
What?
to Skyward Sword, which Skyward Sword was trying to tell this great involving heroic journey, but and I get what they were trying to go for, but the problem with Skyward Sword is that Skyward Sword's main story kind of sucks to me. But the side stories that go on are more interesting than the main story in Skyward Sword for me. Like
Listen, quick question, bro, because you skipped one. Zelda Four Swords Adventure for GameCube. What do you think about it?
I mean, I like Four Swords Adventure. Although the reason I didn't skip it, I didn't include it because I consider that to be with the 2D Legend of Zelda games. Like I'm like
Oh,
that's
God.
not, I'm just looking at the mainline Legend of Zelda games in terms of story
That's
because
like a spin-off, huh?
the 2D, yeah, because it is more of a spin-off because it's related to Four Swords, the Four Swords game where the
The
Minish
Game Boy
Cap.
Advance.
It's part of the Minish Cap series. It's like a sequel to the Minish Cap, basically.
Nah, bro, that game was on the Game Boy Advance, bro.
No,
Packaged with
the
Link to the
game.
Past.
The game on the Game Boy Advance is a different game than Four Swords
Yeah.
Adventure on the GameCube because the final enemy, like the final two enemies in Four Swords on the GameCube is Vadi, but it turns out it's just Vadi being manipulated by Ganondorf, and they really do have a cool version of the old school version of Ganondorf, the giant blue pig with the red cape and the pitchfork. It's actually pretty cool. I do like that game, but those are all spin-off games.
Wait, hold on. One last thing. Did you actually beat? Like, I beat it twice
I did beat it.
on the. Dude, I thought the story that I was like, dude, what the fuck is this nonsense, bro? I just played that shit, dude.
Yeah, so like I said, the ending of that game is you basically discover that Vadi, like you think that it's Vadi is the main enemy, but it turns out, oh no, it was just Vadi being puppet. Like basically they take the plot from Twilight Princess, except instead of Zant, it's Vadi, and Ganondorf has been controlling this version of Vadi the entire time. It was Ganon the entire time. It's kind of like, okay, whatever.
That was cool. I liked it.
I mean, I like their cover of the classic Ganon theme from Link to the Past. So, I mean, I actually like Four Swords Adventure on the GameCube. It's one of my favorite Zelda spin-offs.
Hell
But
yeah, bro.
I consider that a spin-off, not in the main line. But, and from Skyward Sword, we get to Breath of the Wild, which, I'm sorry, that story is just,
I've never played that one, dude. What's that about?
I
know that
played
you like.
Skyward Sword.
Breath of the
I know
Wild?
it's totally different.
What, Breath of the Wild or Skyward Sword? You never played Breath of the Wild or Skyward
No,
Sword?
no, I have the one for the Wii, bro. I'm talking about the one for the Wii U and Switch. I never played that. I just know that
Skyward
I've
Sword?
seen the gameplay, bro. Everyone's seen the gameplay.
I mean, you mean Breath of the Wild? Because that was on the Wii and the Switch.
Yeah, that one. I played Skyward Sword. I didn't beat it, but I was like halfway or something.
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Breath of the Wild is them trying something new. Like basically the best way I could describe Breath of the Wild's gameplay is if you took
Good.
if you took Far Cry and Assassin's Creed and
And-
Skyrim and then you threw that into a Legend of Zelda game, you'd have Breath of the Wild. Because it's got the you're climbing this tower in order to unlock the rest of the map from Far Cry. It's got the we're gonna inundate you with tons and tons of stuff to do. It's got the we're gonna reset the map every X amount of in-game time so that like whatever you do to clear an area doesn't fucking matter because we have to maintain the status quo of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Just the enemies get more difficult as you power up. and they add a shitty mechanic of, hey guys, guess what? We're going to have weapon. We're gonna have weapon degradation, which to me just kind of like I don't mind weapon degradation, but if you're gonna have weapon degradation, at least have the weapons. Like at least let me repair my weapons.
Very accessible or something.
No, let me repair my weapons, which you cannot do in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, you're basically like, oh, my weapon broke. Okay, and I guess I have to find more weapons, and that's part of the gameplay loop. But the problem is that once you get to a certain power level in the game, like once you get to a certain point where the weapons you're finding are powerful enough to end game, fights become something to be avoided because you're saving your inventory of weapons for assaulting Hyrule Castle and fighting the final boss. It's like, why should I use my weapons to fight scrub enemies when I can go fight the final boss? Makes no sense.
I don't know, but I don't know what to tell you. I never played that shit.
But anyway, yeah, like for me, I think that the Legend of Zelda, I think Eiji Aonuma's Legend of Zeldas have the weaker stories, in my opinion. Just to me, I think they kind of have the weaker stories. I think that like the ones where he just kind of goes off the rails, like your Skyward Swords.
Bro, you know what game has the weakest stories?
Go ahead.
Sonic.
Yeah, but no one's playing Sonic the Hedgehog for the story.
Easy.
Except for that
I
time.
don't give a damn. I don't care about the story either. I was just pointing that out.
Except for that time that they turned Sonic the Hedgehog into Final Fantasy in Sonic 06.
that was not.
Well, Sonic 6 had a good villain, but
No,
yeah,
it didn't. No, it didn't.
it had a good love story. Okay,
It didn't have a good love story either.
No, what? No.
I'm joking.
Yeah, everything about Sonic
Oh.
06 was just bad.
Sonic the Disaster.
Yeah. I mean, look, say whatever you want to about like if you put the weakest Mario game against the weakest against the weakest Sonic game, it's no contest.
Dude, Mario is way better than Sonic.
That's
dude.
what I'm saying.
You kidding?
If you take the weakest Mario game and put it against the weakest, like I'm gonna delineate it between 2D and 3D. Take the weakest 2D Mario game and put it against the weakest Sonic game, 2D Sonic game. You still the weakest Mario game is still better than the weakest Sonic game. And
I'm gonna give a hot take. Mario Sunshine is better than any 3D Sonic game.
Dude, that game is way better than any Sonic game,
yeah,
period.
I agree.
Dude.
And I don't even like Mario Sunshine, to be honest with you. I
That
think
game is so gnarly.
I mean, I get what they were going for. I just don't like the flood attachment because it gets in the way of the 3D platforming that I enjoy in 3D Mario games.
So your favorite part is when that shit gets taken away, huh?
Yeah, like I remember playing Mario Sunshine and they have the challenge levels where they're like, you lost your flood. I'm like, yes, I can actually do what I enjoy doing in 3D Mario games. Like what I really wanted Nintendo to do, and this is just wishful thinking, but anyone here played Super Mario Galaxy 2?
Of
Yes.
course.
Remember the challenge levels that they remade like little bits and pieces of Super Mario 64 in the challenge levels? I would have loved it if Nintendo would have made remade Mario 64 in that engine.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Now
cool.
that I would love to play. Like maybe add some extra levels, like maybe do Mario 64 DS, but do it in that engine with the extra characters and the extra levels and stuff. I would play that. I would buy that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Nice.
well, I had an idea about how Mario 64 could be a good remake on the Switch, but like way different.
all right.
I was thinking that with Yoshi, he would have some egg spots, and you would get to ride in.
I mean, they
I was
could
also
do that.
thinking that there would be a new overworld after you beat like Peach's Castle up to like 70 stars,
I'd be cool
and
with
then
that.
you get to go Bowser's Castle.
I would be cool. I would be cool with that. That could basically be like the
You
Star
know,
World, for Mario 64. Because Mario
yeah, that would be
64,
cool.
Mario 64 is one of the few Mario games that doesn't have a Star World.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have like
Oh,
those
and the
base
controls
challenge
and
levels.
camera would be better.
Pardon?
The controls and camera would be better.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the weakness of 3D platformers is that they don't have great camera control.
Really?
Yeah.
Even the modern ones?
Mario's one of the best, but even like for me, the greatest enemy in Mario Mario Galaxy cracked it because they pulled the camera out. But Mario Odyssey, the greatest enemy in Mario Odyssey isn't the bosses or the enemies; it's that damn camera. That camera will get you killed faster and cause you to miss more collectibles than any enemy in that game.
Interesting.
Yeah. So with that being said, I guess we can move on to the free topic. Now, this is the segment where people can bring up their own topics that they want to discuss, and which we have the time to do. So the free topic is, like I know people like to say movie tie-in games suck, and most of the time they do. But there's also been some great movie tie-in games and some really good movies that I'm like, wow, you guys missed an opportunity not having a movie tie-in. For example, the Batman came out earlier this year. Matt Reeves' The Batman. And I'm not saying that they should have put like an Arkham Origins or Arkham Knight or Arkham City or Arkham Asylum budget into it. But there could have been like a small $15, $20, maybe $30 side-scrolling beat-em-up for the Batman released or something. No, nothing. Not a damn thing. So, what other missed opportunity movie tie-ins that you think like this movie was huge and it really could have done with like a video game tie-in that could have helped push the numbers up? Do you think like that game is huge? There could have been something.
Wait, hold on. You mean like a game, a movie that had a crappy game, an underwhelming one, or one that didn't have a game?
A movie that was huge and like the studio's like, we made money, but you could have made more money if you had released a game that was tied into this. Like, you know, like
and it has to be good.
Like Marvel's Avengers, if it had come out like when Endgame came out, probably would have done better. Probably would have Marvel's Avengers probably would have done better for Square Enix if it had come out at the same time as Endgame, because it would have been fresh on people's minds. They're like, yeah, and look, you watch the movie, now play the game. No, we're gonna wait a year after this comes out and then put this crap out. It was not a smart move on their part.
Y'all, a game, dude, a movie, bro, that was like huge, but the game sucked. Was Rugrats in Paris.
I never played that game.
Don't.
Like I think there's only like two Nickelodeon games where the games were fairly decent in the 6th gen, and I would say that's Tak and the Power of Juju, but that started as a game first.
Yeah, that is probably the best fucking Nick game.
Yeah, that game started. That series started as a video game, and then it turned into a cartoon.
Into a cartoon after, bro.
Yeah,
can you believe that shit?
And I would probably say maybe.
Oh, what, SpongeBob?
Yeah, I would say the SpongeBob games. The SpongeBob games and Tak and the Power of Juju are the only series where I'm like, okay, this video game tie-in actually works. Because the Avatar games sucked. The Avatar games were terrible.
What about the one coming out soon? Might as well have the one that was shown last year at E3.
The Avatar, the Avatar, the Airbender.
No. The Airbender, I think.
You mean the James Cameron Avatar?
Yeah, the one with the blue faces.
Well, there was a game that came out for Avatar and it sucked, and I guess they're going to try again. I guess I don't know.
Right. I think it might be good.
Dude, I played so many of those damn cash-in titles when I was a kid, bro. Nickelodeon.
Yeah. I mean,
this one's out of left field, but like Inception Could have been like a third person
Whoa.
shooter game. Cerebral as third person shooter game.
Kind of like Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
No, it could have been like Portal mixed with like a standard first person shooter.
Yeah.
That could have worked.
Um,
And I know people are going to say movie tie-in games suck, but you forget the king of movie tie-in games, Spider-Man 2.
No, that one was good.
That game was
bro.
great.
I would say that one of the kings is 007 on Nintendo.
GoldenEye.
64.
Yeah, that's true. Because people don't even remember that movie, but people remember the game. Like
Hell
I
yeah.
swear. Like someone's like, "Hey,
That's
do you remember
funny.
GoldenEye?" Nope, I do not remember GoldenEye. I remember the game though.
Okay, so my idea, I'm sure you probably see this coming, Red Fox, but it, the game,
I'd
make
be
it an
down with that.
RPG.
I would say do something like Eternal Darkness, but with it. Eternal Darkness crossed with Resident Evil.
No,
And like
I
have
see.
like release the game in 2 parts. Do like it and then it part 2 where they're adults, but don't base it on the movie. Base it on the book. So it'd have to be
Oh
M-rated.
yeah, of course.
It would have to be M-rated and dark and gritty, and that would be a really interesting game because you couldn't use
It
guns
would be.
against it because guns aren't going to do anything against it. Like the kids would have to use their asthma inhaler and their slingshots and stuff like that. I'm not afraid. Psh. Some Eternal Darkness stuff. Beverly's stuck in the bathroom and she's being doused with blood. What's gonna happen now? It's like, oh shit, I don't know. This is some fucked up shit right here.
Yeah.
Mike's getting chased down by some racist redneck who's been infected by it. What's gonna happen now?
Well,
I'm gonna
I
talk to y'all
think-
later, all right?
All right, peace out.
All right, bye, bro.
But yeah. So, are there any other topics? Are there any other free topics you guys want to bring up? We have at least a little over 35 minutes for free topics. So, are there any other free topics anyone
what
would like
about
to bring up?
delayed games?
Pardon?
What about delayed games?
I can't.
Delayed games.
Which games got delayed?
Oh, delayed games. Oh, well, the games that got delayed were Starfield, Red something, Red. Here, let me look it up real quick.
God of War get delayed?
Man, don't nobody care about that. No, I'm joking. I'm sure there's someone who cares about God of War, but I'm not one of them. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, Zelda Breath of the Wild got delayed.
Breath of the
And
Wild.
so did Advance Wars.
Yeah, but
Breath
I
of the
would.
Wild too.
I mean, look, I would love for Breath of the Wild to be delayed so that it doesn't run as poorly as Breath of the Wild did on the Switch when it initially launched. Because that, like I said, that game crashed on me like 4 times while I was playing it on the Switch. Now, I don't know how. I guess it ran better on the Wii U because it was built for the Wii U, but on the Switch it ran very poorly. And even now, if I play that game for longer than like an hour and a half, like you can see the frame rates get kind of choppy if I'm in an area where there's a lot of stuff going on. And like I just delay that game as long as you need to get it to run well. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Because like I don't want to be playing a Legend of Zelda game and like have to worry about is this gonna crash? Because that happened to me. Like I remember the first time it happened, I'd been playing the game for like 3 hours straight because like I don't know about you guys, when I get a new game, I'll take off of work or like if I have a weekend where I have like a long stretch of time, I'll just play and and I'll forget to save.
Wow.
And it crashed on me, and I lost like 3 hours of progress. I was like, "Fuck you!" in my, I said literally, I said, "Fuck you." And I'm not used to like, okay, if it was a third-party game, because third parties typically don't give a shit about the quality of their games on a Nintendo console, so I expect bullshit. But a Nintendo first-party game running like ass on Nintendo's first-party hardware, that's not cool. It's unacceptable. But I get that, you know, they probably rushed that game to get ported over to the Switch because they were like, we need to have a quality launch title for the Switch, and this is going to be one of them. So we gotta get it out the door. So, you know,
Move.
basically, yeah. But yeah, like Breath of the Wild 2, like I want them to take their time with that game because I don't want people to experience what I experienced with the first game on the Switch. As far as like, I know some people are like, what about Metroid Prime 4? Just cancel that game for the Switch and put it on the next hardware because I don't, you know, you cannot look. I do not want Metroid Prime 4 to be just marginally better than Metroid Prime 3.
Oh no, it would hurt fans.
Okay, like, you know, I'm
You want
sorry.
it to be groundbreaking.
Basically, yeah. Because every other Metroid Prime game, they pushed the envelope further. Like the first Metroid Prime is basically like a 3D Super Metroid. Metroid Prime 2 gives you 2 worlds, even though it's just a lot of like reuse of assets and slight changes, but still they essentially give you 2 worlds to explore. Metroid Prime 3, they give you multiple planets to explore. Now you're not doing the whole planet. There's just large sections you're exploring, but still, that's like, wow, you're doing all this on the Wii. So they got to go beyond that in Metroid Prime 4. Like, you know, it's got to be more than that. Like, you can't take a step backwards. Kind of like one of the reasons why I'm not that impressed with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because it's a step back in so many ways to Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like, you know, like it's really hard for me to be impressed when you're taking stuff away in your next iteration on more powerful hardware, ostensibly speaking. You know,
I see.
like, you know, like, I mean, they took stuff away from the first Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like, you can't wear different outfits. Characters can't equip different weapons. You can't aim for different parts of enemies' bodies in order to do status effects and take away certain attack options from enemies. I mean, it's just a lot of features were stripped out of that game. But hey, you got blades. I guess that's cool. I guess I don't know. That didn't really do much for me. But you know, I know some people thought that was the bee's knees, but I'm like, I could take it or leave it. But that's my own personal opinion. I could be wrong. So what are your guys' thoughts on it?
I guess for Metroid Prime 4, I've gotta say, there's a reason why Nintendo told Namco, sorry, this doesn't work.
Yeah, because Namco Bandai didn't have the resources or the staff to make a Metroid Prime game. And had they talked to anyone who knew anything about the Metroid Prime games, they would have never signed that contract.
Yeah, I just don't understand like why Retro has been making games.
Well, Retro's been working on a lot of stuff, and then they got called in to make the Metroid Prime 4, which is what they should have done in the first damn place anyway. Like, I don't know why they were like, yeah, we'll get Sony to do it. I mean, we'll get Namco Bandai. I'm like, Namco Bandai to help out making a fighting game. Okay, they have plenty of that experience. But what game in Namco Bandai's library tells you these people can make a Metroid Prime game? And I would say they don't. There's nothing in their library that says that.
Well,
So,
yeah, I guess they could hire the guy that made AM2R to help make a Metroid Prime 4 game.
Nah. Even though, I mean, like I said, I played the Mercury Steam Metroid Prime, Metroid 2 remake, and then I played the AM2R, and I prefer the AM2R to the Metroid Prime 2 that was made by Mercury Steam. I think AM2R is closer to the original game versus what they did with the remake. But that's just me.
Makes sense.
If you're gonna do a remake of a game, like the more that you're closer to the original source material, the happier I am. Most of the time. Now there are exceptions to everything, but for me, the closer you are to the original source material, the happier I am. I don't want a lot of changes to a remake of an old game.
I take it you don't like Final Fantasy remake.
Well, they call it a remake, but it's more of a reimagining than a remake. Like if they called it Final Fantasy VII reimagining, I'd say okay, that makes sense. But it's not a remake because they've changed so much that it's not a remake of that game.
Mm.
So we have a little bit of time. So anyone else have any other free topics, hot topics, so hot takes? Something that they're like, you know what? I want to get this off my chest. I need to say this. I don't care what anyone says.
GPU prices are taking a dump. Crypto is in the pits.
Which
And
makes me happy.
Crypto millionaires are on suicide watch.
And I feel okay about that. You know, why don't they invest their money in real shit, not some Ponzi scheme bullshit?
Because they think that digital money is going to be their way to the top.
I mean, I'm not against people doing something revolutionary, but I mean, if you're just gonna throw some shit together and do some Ponzi schemes, like shady shit, which is what a lot of this crypto shit is, I'm like, I can't support this. I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot, in
Yeah.
good faith, support this whatsoever.
I don't know. It always just felt like a monopoly money. It's just like it all feels kind of fake.
Well, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi pyramid scheme. The people at the top basically create an NFT. Then they get people below them to put money into the NFT, pumping up its value. Then they withdraw their money on top of the extra money that comes from it getting pumped up. So let's say you get an NFT. You start an NFT. People put in, like, you get like 3,000 people to put their money in, and each of them puts in $100. So that would pump the value of that NFT. Let me get my calculator. That would pump the value of that NFT. Let's say 3,000 times $100 to $300,000, and then those people basically say, hey, if you get like those 3,000, hey, the NFT is worth $300,000. If you guys get like 10 of your friends to put $100 into the NFT, that'll work. So then you take $300,000. So then you get like 30,000. Like it's a pot, and then the person at the top pulls their money out, and it just becomes like it's basically a pyramid scheme. And those people, like, the value is depressed, which is what's happened. Like, the people at the top pulled their money out of the NFTs, and the value plummeted because they took their money out while the value was at its highest. They cashed out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised at that rate.
So, like, at this point, I'm just like, it's shady as F to me. That's just me. I know everyone has their own opinion, and opinions are like a-holes. Everyone has one, but I do not agree with the NFT train. If you want to make money, I would tell people to invest in stuff.
Things that actually exist.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, now that the stock market took a hit, there's stocks that are lower now that you can buy. Like, you can buy Disney stock for under $110 because $107. Because eventually Disney's going to get their shit together and the value will go back up. So if you bought like 10 shares of Disney for $1,000 right now, a little bit over $1,000, and then the stock's like I think it's 107 right now, 107 and 11 cents. And you basically wait for the stock goes up to like 167, then you sell. You made your money plus an extra 50 some odd dollars in profit. So you made $1,000,500 and something. Then you take that money and you put it into another stock. That's going to make you more money than NFTs because, if you pull your money out, you still, not everyone's pulling their money at the same time. But anyway, that's my own personal opinion. Any other topic? No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
Because Disney or Apple, they actually make tangible products that,
And plus, I mean,
I know
they're not going to go out of business within a few days. Let me put it that way, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I know this cryptocurrencies are tied to projects, but I don't even really know what those projects are.
Well, some of them are tied to projects. Most of them are just like, we made a product and you get a receipt that you own the digital product, but you don't really because you didn't create it. Like the people who try to sell you on crypto, they use a lot of marketing buzzwords to get people in on it, but they aren't actually able to explain what the fuck crypto is. But anyway, that's my own personal opinion. So any other topics you guys want to bring up before we wrap things up? Any movies you want to talk about? Any games that you're like, someone needs to pay attention to this? Et cetera, et cetera.
No, I'm good.
All right. So that's the end of the cast. Anything you guys want to pimp out? Show off? Talk about? Whatever?
Project Console, Tuesdays at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you guys there.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. If you would like to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at on the chat, or you can join our Discord, the Discord server BS Busters, where you can always be on one of our casts. You can leave comments. You can leave topic suggestions, etc., news stories that you think we should talk about. All that type of stuff. Used to be Twitter, but Elon Musk is apparently trying to buy Twitter, and fuck that guy. I'm not going to support his money-making endeavors. Hell, I don't even own a Tesla. I own an electric vehicle, don't own a Tesla, so that should tell you something. Anyway.
His stock is already going down the ship.
Yeah, I just don't like Elon Musk. I think that he's fucking...
And he hasn't, guys... And he hasn't had his purchase yet.
I think he's a fucking con man.
So
I really do. But that's just that's neither here nor there. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. We ended a little early tonight, but shit happens. That's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and
hype responsibly.
Yes. So that's the end of the cast. We have our casts every Saturday and Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m.